Hello, my name is David Shrout, and I'm the Chief Plant Operator at the Flemingsburg Wastewater Treatment Plant. I'd like to welcome everybody down here to the plant, and I'm going to give a little tour of the plant, the new facility, let everybody see what happens after you flush your commode. There's a whole nother world that happens, and most people don't realize it. But here is what we call the headworks building, actually where the plant actually begins. Wastewater comes into this building and enters these two troughs that you see in front of you right now. This is our screen removal, which removes all solids, any paper products, anything that gets flushed that's besides water gets caught in these screens. You can see the ventilation system there in the building that constantly pumps out the air. And here you see the actual water coming into the trough as it comes through this screen. The screen is like an auger. It's level controlled, and it's also time controlled. If the water level gets very high, they automatically kick on. If the water level stays low, it just kicks on once an hour. All trash gets caught right there in that screen as you see it. And it just gets augered up through this pipe to where there's a trash bin and bags there at the end. It gets caught in that. Once that bag gets fairly full, we remove the bag, put it in a dumpster, and it's hauled to the landfill. Here's we step outside the headworks building, goes through our second process, and goes through what's called a pistogrit removal system, where the water that has had the trash removed out of it now also gets any gravel or sand or any gritty material that's able to get through the screen and comes into what's called this pistogrit, and then that water is pumped into this room here. It's hard to understand, but the water is pumped up through this pipe and enters in to this trough here, where the heavy material falls to the bottom, and there's an auger in this machine which also augers all the grit and gravel that might be in there and put in that bag. Here we're just standing outside the headworks building again, and now you can see how long possibly the pistogrit system is. This channel is probably about 16 to 18 foot deep, and the water comes down through here and makes a right-hand turn and goes over into that pump station that you're looking at. This is our pump station, where all the water that now has had the trash removed and has had all the grit and sand removed out of it. Now you just have wastewater that enters into this pump station, which is pumped into our 2 SBR tanks. We're standing outside of the electrical control room that's connected to the SBR tanks. We have a valve room there, and those are our blowers that control the air in the SBR tanks. That building there is our area where we store our jet machine, and also where we have our sludge press machine at. Now we're standing outside of our belt press building where the sludge is pressed. It's pressed, and the sludge that is pressed empties into that dumpster right there, which is hauled to the Maysville landfill. Here we're inside our belt press building now. Where you see our belt press, it's a 1.7 cubic yards press. We can press up to 200 to 300 gallons a minute of sludge if we need to. Through this, the water is all removed and it recirculates and goes back to the head of the plant. This room here is our chemical storage room, and also the room that we store our jet machine in. We have a polymer feed system that is connected to our belt press, and a chemical feed system if needed. Those tanks are 1,500 gallons each. Here we're going to step into the control room. This room houses all the controls for the SBR tanks, the SBR blowers, all of the post aeration blowers. We have our main control for the electric in this building. We have our controls for the pumps, which are in our influent wet well. We also have our controls for the generator in this room. This is our new generator that we have that's able to run the whole plant in case of a power outage. Here's our UV disinfection area when the water travels through before it goes into post aeration and gets disinfected. Makes our water safe to enter into the town branch stream. Here we're standing on top of the SBR tanks themselves. These tanks are 75 feet by 75 feet by 25 foot high. People don't realize how massive they are until they stand on top of there. Each tank has a capability of holding 1.1 million gallons. There's about 45,500 gallons per foot in each tank. There's a giant mixer there you see in the middle. There's a decanter there, the square thing that you're looking at, which takes the clear water off at the end of the process of the batch off the top of the water, which eventually goes through the rest of the system and gets disinfected and enters back into the stream. Here we're just getting an aerial view of the whole property. There's a view of our post aeration. There's a view of our UV system disinfection again. Here we see our blowers for our post aeration. We have to have a dissolved oxygen level that we have to meet for our state permit to be able to support aquatic life that's in the stream. So we have to raise our dissolved oxygen levels up to make sure we cause no harm to the environment. Here we see a computer screen with our SCADA system for the whole area. It shows the whole operation. It tells us what's going on in each tank. It tells us pH levels, DO levels, ORP levels. It tells us our level in our tanks, how much water we're receiving in our influent pumps. Here's just a view of our lab where we have to run daily tests each day. And that's a tour of our plant here, the wastewater plant here in Flemingsburg. Really like to say that this is really some of the latest and greatest technology in wastewater treatment. It's really a very neat operation. Now, thank you for your time.
This is Danny Schrapp, the Chief Plant Operator for the Flemingsburg Utility System. This is our water plant, built in 1969. Just had it refurbished, opened it back up in June of last summer. This is our lab room. It's where we test all the water, make sure it's safe to drink. This is our office. This is our new SCADA system. This is all new to everybody here in Flemingsburg, but you can actually operate the whole plant just off of that keyboard. As you can see, it shows everything, shows all the chemical feed pumps, all the valves, the filters, all the tires that's in town. Now we're going into our chemical feed room. This is where the raw water comes in. Goes through this trough where all the chemicals feed. About 300 gallons a minute comes through that trough. Gets down to the end there's a flash mixer, mixes all the chemicals up with the water. It goes underneath, and these blue things are called flocculators. Mixes the water up in the floc basin. Now we're going outside to the settling beds. Water comes from the floc basin into the settling basins. All the stuff that's in the water drops out into the bottom of these. You can see they're pretty big. They're about 12 foot deep. Holds around 125,000 gallons of water. That's the clear well. That's where our finished water goes to. From there we pump up to the Mills tower. And now we're going into the filter room. Water comes from the settling basins into the filter room. Where water comes in and it just gradually goes through the filter beds. So we've got 3 filters now. Went from 69 till last year we only had 2 filters, and we've upgraded. We've got 3 filters we use now. This is our chlorine room. This is really modern. Used to be everything was manual that you had to do in there. Now it's all automated, which makes it a lot safer. That's our new generator. That actually come from the wastewater plant, and they got a new one. They let us have that one. That's the Mills tower. That's where the finished water goes to, and then goes through the distribution system. And these are kind of hard to see, but these are all of our Class 3A license. As far as I know, this right now is the most that the city has ever had as far as licensed operators, which we have 5, which is really good. This is an aerial view of the plant, the settling beds, the clear well, and this basin down in the lower part is an EQ basin. When we wash the filters or the settling basins, that's where the water goes, and then it's pumped to the wastewater plant. This is our pipe gallery. That's where all the high service motors and pumps are. It pushes the water to the Mills tower. All this stuff's updated. Everything down here is brand new except for the piping. All the valves, lines, and everything are new. Just the piping is the only thing that was left over. Everything's automated now. All the valves are electric. They have fans down there now and a dehumidifier. It stays extra dry down there. Them's turbidimeters. And master water meter, that little green thing there, that reads the water that goes out. This little screen here is a computer, just like upstairs. We can do everything there that we can do upstairs. Actually, a lot of people don't know that the water plant is actually 3 floors. And that's a tour of our refurbished water plant.